The Women of Faith one-day conference featured speaker Andy Andrews. Andy was just a teenager when both his parents died, and he found himself homeless, living from hand to mouth and sleeping under a pier. And it seemed that there was no hope in his future. There was no future. But God knew exactly what Andy was, and he had a plan for them. We asked Andy what was his heartfelt message to the ladies who attended the one-day Women of Faith conference.
God wants us to become more, to be more, and to act like more. To be more and become more. And when we begin to think and feel in a different manner, we begin to act differently. And so there are ways, I believe, to honor God that are just so obvious and so in front of us if we'll look.
Andy is known for his humor and for his fiction. And Andy says, really, people remember stories better when there's a little bit of humor attached to it.
I think that a story is always better. It's how I learned. If something was really funny, it came from a story. If I was really learning something, it really came from a story. If I was being disciplined, I was told a story. And so stories, I think, connect with people in a way that they remember. And I think humor is the glue that will hold that story together.
And the whole time that Andy was telling his stories and his humor, he always had a smile on his face. But he always told the ladies, too, smile when you talk.
People smile when there is a need to, but very few people smile when they talk. And it is an amazingly captivating skill that somebody can learn.
Some don't know it, but Andy was invited to the White House. They read his books, and they like what he has to say.
I really became quite a fan of the whole concept of perspective. Knowing that people make bad decisions sometimes, and sometimes people force decisions where good answer doesn't really exist yet. But to know that perspective brings calm, calm leads to clear thinking yields ideas, and ideas are where we get answers. And so I see some of this stuff, and some of the higher ups in our government leadership would read my books, and so then I would get asked in, or they would see me, or somebody would hear me speak somewhere and say, you need to talk to this guy. So it's a very honoring thing.
Well, Andy's suggestion of ideas are always where you get answers. He always says that principles also always work.
My books are based on principles. Principles always work, and they work whether you know them or not. So if they work whether you know them or not, shouldn't we learn them so that we can put our life on the path that God wants for us? And so I really urge people, read, seek wisdom, and also to understand that there are reasons, there are great reasons for hardships.
Andy made the comment several times that hardships are going to be in your life. It just depends on how you are going to approach them. He says there is one thing. There is proof of hope.
If I could have 30 seconds to talk to the world, this is what I would say. Even in the worst time of your life, there is a proof of hope, and that is you are still breathing. Because if you're still breathing, that means you're still here. If you're still here, that means you haven't accomplished what you were put here to accomplish. If you haven't accomplished what you were put here to accomplish, that means the very purpose of your life has not been fulfilled. If the purpose of your life has not been fulfilled, that means the most important part of your life, the coolest part of your life, the most fun and rewarding part of your life is still ahead of you. It doesn't matter how old you are, how sick you are, how broke you might be, or how depressed you might feel. By the virtue of the fact that you sit here and breathe, there is more. That is a proof of hope.
Well, there is more. And even if you get into depression, which Andy admits he has been in several times, you still have a choice to make of how you are going to handle and conquer this depression.
If I am depressed and I choose to act depressed, then I get more depression. It is a choice, not just how to act, but where to go, who to be around, who to listen to.
Who to listen to? Who to listen to indeed. Well, if there's one thing I learned from the Women of Faith one-day conference, it was this passage from Psalm 118, verse 6. I will not be afraid, because the Lord is with me. This is Diana Kay.